Welcome back to the AI Verdict Explainer. So listen, right now, if you're building literally anything on AI, you're facing a massive and honestly, potentially very costly dilemma. You're trying to predict the next big OpenAI release, right? And getting it wrong could mean rebuilding your entire stack from scratch or worse, just missing the boat entirely.
Okay, let's dive into this, because right now, I guarantee your feed is completely flooded with two completely contradictory headlines. On one side, people are swearing up and down that GPT-6 is launching any week now. But then, on the flip side, you've got these skeptics who are totally convinced it's just vaporware that won't see the light of day until 2027. So, which is it?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out today. Our entire mission here at AI Verdict is all about separating OpenAI's genuine signals from those, dressed-up rumors. We're cutting straight through the hype today to focus purely on factual, data-backed signals regarding what this model will actually do, how much it's going to cost you, and when you can realistically expect it to drop.
All right, first things first, GPT-6 isn't officially a thing yet. There's no spec sheet, no official launch page. It's really just the community's shorthand for whatever comes after GPT-5. But hey, we aren't completely in the dark here. OpenAI has this very clear track record of roughly doubling their model scale with each generation. Based on that history, industry speculation strongly points to GPT-6 being absolutely enormous. We're talking somewhere in the 1 to 2 trillion parameter range.
But the real story here isn't just about it getting bigger. It's about how it's being built. We are looking at a fully multimodal foundation right from the ground up. Think about the progression. First we had text and images, then voice and vision. Now factor in OpenAI's Sora 2 video model, which dropped back in September 2025 with that incredibly realistic video and sound. GPT-6 aims to be a single unified brain that natively reads, sees, listens, and watches, all at the exact same time.
Now, under the hood, managing that much data, it requires some absolute engineering magic. We're talking about a supercharged architecture that likely uses what's called a mixture of experts. This lets them scale up without letting computing costs just explode in a straight line. Plus, there's a really neat trick they borrowed from their video models called space-time patches. Basically, it chops visual data into manageable chunks, which allows for these massive context windows that can actually comprehend long-form video. It's a real game changer.
And this brilliantly illustrates where OpenAI is actually placing its bets. It's not just about crunching more video data. As Sam Altman bluntly put it, quote, "People want memory." This right here is the true killer feature of the upcoming model. It completely changes everything about how we interact with AI on a day-to-day basis. Just think about what persistent memory actually means for your daily workflow. You're no longer dealing with a chatbot that forces you to re-explain who you are and what you do every single morning. It's exhausting, right? Instead, it becomes a true personalized assistant that actually knows your past conversations, it learns your preferred writing styles, and it remembers all the little nuances of those ongoing projects you've been grinding on for weeks. It is a fundamental shift in the whole user experience.
So, the million-dollar question, when do we actually get our hands on it? Let's look at the historical cadence for a second. GPT-4 landed in March 2023, then GPT-4o in May 2024, GPT-4.5 in February 2025, and GPT-5.5 in April 2026. Right, so that's roughly a 1 to 2 year rhythm. Sam Altman has hinted that it'll arrive faster than that painful 2-year gap we saw between GPT-4 and 5. But he also explicitly warned us not to expect it before 2026. So he's basically put a floor under the timeline.
And because of that 2026 floor, you've really got to systematically knock down these fake leaks going around. We saw an October 2025 Evercore prediction get shot down immediately by OpenAI. Then there was this oddly specific April 14th, 2026 launch rumor that just came and went with total silence. Now there is one unverified claim that GPT-6 wrapped up its pre-training on March 24th, 2026. But remember, even if that's true, finishing training and passing those rigorous safety reviews, that takes a substantial amount of time.
So, putting all those puzzle pieces together gives us our final verdict on the timeline. A realistic launch window is mid to late 2026, with a very real possibility of it slipping into early 2027. Honestly, anyone confidently promising you a hard launch date right now is simply guessing.
All right, let's move into practical capabilities: coding, writing, and research.
So what's this massive model actually going to do for you day to day when it finally arrives? Let's look at coding first, because the trajectory from GPT 5.5 is incredibly steep. 5.5 is already highly efficient at writing and debugging code, right? Well, GPT-6 is expected to take a massive leap. It should be able to reason through entire complex projects, optimize them, and even natively run and test its own code. Of course, with that level of power, you should definitely expect OpenAI to place some very strict guardrails on it to prevent the generation of insecure code or malware.
Now, when it comes to creative writing and research, well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Building on the high emotional intelligence of recent models, GPT-6 is going to push storytelling and long-form writing to sound beautifully human and far less robotic. It'll also be totally exceptional at brainstorming and explaining super dense topics. But the caveat remains, its fluency means it can easily generate convincing but entirely fake papers, or just confidently hallucinate facts. You absolutely still have to trust, but verify.
We also know a bit about how it'll behave and how you'll access it. Sam Altman has noted that for public use, GPT-6 will default to a centrist, middle-of-the-road political stance, though users will still have the ability to deliberately adjust its leanings. Access-wise, expect the familiar setup. It'll likely be delivered through the standard ChatGPT interface and API, featuring those free limits alongside Priority Pro paid tiers.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can anchor our expectations for GPT-6 pricing to what we saw with GPT 5.5. We know 5.5 ran $5 per million input tokens and $30 for output on the standard tier, jumping pretty steeply to $30 and $180 for Pro. Given that GPT-6 is a significantly bigger, much hungrier model, you should definitely brace for noticeably higher costs per token across the board.
And the primary reason for those higher costs? Well, OpenAI signaled an astronomical $50 billion compute spend for 2026 alone. When the build-to-run the infrastructure is that massive, they have to charge accordingly. We are fully expecting tiered usage models, higher quotas reserved strictly for paying users, and massive enterprise contracts driving the revenue to offset those gigantic compute bills.
Okay, there's also this wild, super fascinating wild card in the mix here. Back in 2025, OpenAI acquired the design firm of legendary Apple designer Johnny Ive. Now look, this is pure speculation, but the obvious read here is that they're building a physical vessel for this AI, like a dedicated, wearable or portable piece of hardware engineered specifically to run a model like GPT-6 with ultra-low latency. I mean, if they launch a dedicated device alongside the model, that changes the entire ecosystem.
But hey, launching something this powerful is not going to be a walk in the park. GPT-6 is marching straight into a robust regulatory minefield. You've got U.S. executive orders mandating ideological neutrality in government contexts and the really heavy obligations of the EU AI Act. Plus, remember that incredible persistent memory feature we talked about earlier? That is a very real risk factor. If an AI remembers all your sensitive, ongoing project data, a privacy leak becomes significantly more dangerous, making strict opt-in controls and proper mental health safeguards an absolutely necessary part of the rollout.
And let's not forget, OpenAI is definitely not operating in a vacuum here. The landscape is incredibly volatile right now. Anthropic's Claude is fiercely chasing the frontier with their safety-first approach. Google pushed Gemini 3.5 at AIO 2026 with always-on agents and aggressive, low-cost pricing designed to undercut the market entirely. And labs like Baidu with Ernie are iterating so fast. GPT-6 is going to be fiercely competing to retake and hold the lead from some really formidable rivals.
So the crucial point is this: what do you do right now? My honest, actionable advice to all you developers out there is, do not stall your current roadmaps. Don't just sit around waiting for a late 2026 or 2027 launch. Build with the models you have today. When GPT-6 finally lands, upgrading will largely just be changing an API call, not rebuilding your whole stack from scratch.
And that brings us to a really fascinating crossroads for the future of our daily digital lives. We've separated the genuine signals from all the noise, but now I want to hear from you. Which GPT-6 feature are you actually hoping for to accelerate your own roadmap? Is it that persistent memory, the native video integration, or something else entirely? Let us know your priorities down in the comments. Keep building, and we'll catch you in the next AI Verdicts Explainer.